this game's a disaster.
Yeah, I feel like you could be done wrong really badly on NES games because there were so many that were total garbage.
Poor quality.
Yeah,
So much for that stamp of approval. Liar.
the seal.
The Nintendo seal. That's basically, we'll print money. Here.
It'll run. Maybe.
Welcome back to another episode of Starfield with Normal People. Hey everyone, my name's Duane, and I'm here with my friend Michael. Michael, what is happening, buddy?
Just another beautiful day. I just thought a nice way to spend that beautiful day is walking through a garden.
Ooh.
In fact, a rooftop garden.
Really?
More specifically, the small rooftop garden on top of the lodge in Starfield. See, I almost said Skyrim. That's funny.
I just found that.
Yeah.
I've never been up there until like this. It's funny you bring that up. Like we did not talk about this.
Yeah.
And for the first time ever, I went up on the top of the lodge and I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's such a small thing, and there's really like gameplay wise, there's no reason to go up there. But I saw a post about that somebody noticed 800 hours into the game that there was a little garden on top of the lodge. It's a nice place to go to think.
To ponder life.
Yeah, it really makes me think about what I just said. There's no gameplay reason to go up there.
Yet.
Right, yet. But
Soon we will start a sadistic and satanic ritual where we bring back loved ones that were lost in a storyline. Through heinous rituals up on the rooftop of the lodge.
That'd be great. And then there's always something a little off about them. There's just something not quite right.
You just don't bring people back from the dead without, a personality change here and there.
Yeah.
And them trying to kill you in your sleep. Those two things.
Whenever someone says, there's no gameplay reason for this, and it's just like, welcome to Bethesda games, because it's all about role play, baby.
But how disappointed are you when you play a game and there is a gameplay reason for everything? So that actually molds how you play the game. Like You're like, well, now that I know the rules of this game and that everything means something and does something, it can lead you down a path of frustration, like especially if there's a bug in the game or if there's a thing that they randomly included that breaks that rule. So then you're moving a box around expecting it to open a door, for example, or
Right.
I think we've talked about this before, where you're shooting a red barrel and one particular red barrel just doesn't explode.
Yeah. It's like, what did you do?
You changed the rules of the world.
So disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have a stern talking to whatever dev did that. Trust me.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like I've seen games where like the exploding barrels were yellow, and I'm just like, ugh, what are you doing?
Right. How dare you? Yellow? That makes no sense. Yellow should be like maybe toxic waste.
Yeah.
Like green is toxic waste or like a cloud of noxious, gas. But yellow, that's very ambiguous. That's like a yellow stoplight. Do you speed up or do you slow down? No one knows.
I know. Yeah, nobody knows.
So they do both.
There is no law for yellow lights whatsoever. I looked it up.
The person in the Prius in front of me knows. They slow down.
Yeah.
They don't speed up. So that one person does know.
Yeah. The person behind you, though, that they want to speed up, and they want you to speed up.
They want to drive through your back window and drive over the top of you.
Yeah.
To get through, for sure. Speaking of executions.
That's right. We were talking about that. That should be all of our segues. Like, we should have...
Yeah. I'm down if you want to make that our segue going forward. Speaking of executions. Hey, by the way, what's your favorite execution method? Like, if you were an executioner, like, what would be your preferred, method?
I'm glad somebody finally asked me that question, because I think about it so much. Let's see. If we're going traditional, like being an executioner, I mean, the giant axe with a really, really...
I know immediately what you're talking about.
Yeah, the classic beheading, but not with a sword, that just a long handle with a really wide axe blade. Very medieval.
Yeah, from a physics standpoint, it makes total sense because you have a long axe or a long lever.
Yeah.
And so you get a lot of momentum. So you'll get a nice, clean beheading.
Yep.
Even if your blade is fairly blunt, just the sheer angular momentum of the blade coming down will lop off pretty much anyone's head.
I think that'll do it. Yeah. Yeah.
We think a lot about these kind of things. Does that mean we're...
Are we psychopaths? Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Can't say that I do, although I do feel electrocutions are particularly evil.
Pretty brutal, yeah.
Yeah. If I was evil, yeah, that would be my method right there. But if I was, who's the guy from Game of Thrones? Sean Bean that dies in everything that he's in.
Yeah.
I mean, his method of just, lopping a dude's head off over a stone is probably the way I would go. Give me a nice broadsword and I'm good.
Yeah. Well, now we were talking about executions, but yeah, apparently execution animations are actually in the game of Starfield. But
what?
Not for you though, but
not for me?
Not for you and not for the players. Somebody actually posted a video on Reddit. They see Sarah Morgan run up to an enemy and do a full
suplex,
stabby stab, or she throws them to the ground. This is a big topic for people that played Skyrim, because Skyrim would have these execution animations, which, okay, sure, they did get repetitive, but I always liked having them, especially when you would shoot an arrow and it would, if it was gonna, hit usually or even get close, sometimes it will slow down, and it almost becomes like using VATS in Fallout. You and I didn't even know that there are execution animations in Fallout 4, but you have to activate it yourself. I guess
you were saying you double tap the action button.
Yeah, it's like the power attack button.
The power.
Yeah, apparently if you are going to do enough damage that it will kill them, you can double click the power attack and it will do an animation. And I've never done it. I've played tons of Fallout 4. I've never done it.
I can't say I have either. I mean, you have 3 times as many hours as I do in Starfield. And have you ever seen Sarah Morgan do a finish him move?
No.
Finish him.
Finish him. I haven't, or if I just haven't noticed. I guess I'm not really, I'm usually in the battle, so I'm not really watching them do their thing.
You're basically vacation dad. You're always 10 steps ahead of the entire family, leading the way to Disneyland. And come on, family.
Oh, man.
Everyone's running to catch up with you in your airport walk.
That's so me. I'm just everywhere we go. I'm just a fast walker. I don't know what it is.
Well, if you don't lead, then everyone just stands around in a circle. People make fun of the dad vacation mode, but honestly, if you're not out in front, blazing a path of glory, then your family's just going to be wandering around like fireflies floating around a campfire.
Yeah, no, generally it's like that. But then definitely my wife she's the planner, so she'll have the whole plan. But yeah, once I know where to go, it's all right, here we go.
Beeline. My point is that Sarah's behind you, so you never notice because you're always out in front blazing and shooting, and then she's presumably behind you mopping up. At least as a melee build, I'm obviously right up to the enemy.
Yeah, you're running in. Yeah.
So I'm not rarely am I seeing the companion do anything.
Yeah, apparently people didn't. I guess they didn't like the animations, the kill animations in Skyrim. That's what I've heard. I'm always surprised when there's something that I like in a game, and then I never think to look it up until it's not in the next game. We don't have it anymore. So I'm why isn't this in here? Oh, a bunch of people hated it. What? Okay. So I had no idea that I guess people had a problem with it. Every time you kill a wolf in Skyrim, it does one of 2 animations. That
would definitely get repetitive.
Yeah. So I get it.
Although, how many times are you killing wolves? I mean, I haven't played a whole lot of Skyrim. Are you killing wolves?
Yeah.
A lot? Okay.
Yeah, that's
annoying.
In the main area around Whiterun, there's always tons of them. So it can get annoying. I don't know. It's not too bad, though. I think Fallout 4, it's funny, it sounds like they did it a good way where you have a choice to do it. I just never knew you could do it. So once again, Bethesda's like got this mechanic that they're like, we're not going to tell you about it. If you figure it out, good for you. So maybe I should do a melee build. He said, getting deja vu of several weeks ago when I made a melee build in Starfield.
Fallout with VATS, it's a completely different animal. It's way more fun, I will admit.
Yeah.
Melee build. So
yeah. Well, I'll have to do that then. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I have, I've done some. Fallout 3, oh man, after I did the Alaska DLC, I definitely was rocking the Chinese stealth suit and the sword.
Mm-hmm. That thing is OP big time. Like I did not take that off the rest of the game because it's like once you put it on, you're like, ooh, this is amazing.
It's the best.
Is that the best DLC of all time for any game? It's amazing.
It is amazing. To me, I remember it being controversial because it was Fallout, everything is interactable, right? We talk about you pick everything up. And that was one of the few DLCs where because it was virtual reality, you didn't pick up anything.
Spoiler.
I think you know.
No, they tell you in the beginning of the mission. Yeah.
But you don't. It was actually so weird where you would go in and you didn't pick things up, you didn't save things, you just went, you killed dudes and they dropped and you didn't loot them. And you know what? Some people didn't like that. I was like, man, this is kind of freeing.
You're not spending literally half your playtime going through inventory and searching and prioritizing worthless objects that you probably will never look at again.
And don't get me wrong, I love that about Bethesda games, but I've actually sort of done that myself. So, as you know, often when we put out this podcast on YouTube, if I've got time, I will go and I'll play the game just to get gameplay clips. And what's funny is I will actually force myself to in order to get really cool clips, I'll run around and kill enemies and I don't loot them. Like I'm just trying to keep the action going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun. Like once you're far enough in the game where you don't need to loot people constantly for bullets and money, like it's nice to kind of just stop doing that a little bit.
Yeah. I saw a funny post earlier this week. It was a guy playing the game who basically said, why do I leave amazing weapons that are worth thousands of credits on corpses, but yet I spend 5 minutes trying to pick up cred sticks that are like placed on top of another movable object, like a book, where if you could accidentally pick up the book instead of the 3 cred sticks, which are like neatly placed right on top of the book.
Oh man, that's funny.
And by the way, I am fully aware that it is a generational thing for me to explain memes to people. I know that's cringe.
No,
I mean, it's a podcast, so you have to explain.
No, you have to, because memes are a visual medium.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Oh, I got some memes to explain to you later, Michael.
Yeah.
I'll get you one-on-one, and I'll start showing you my phone. First off, I'm going to scroll pictures on my phone.
Yeah, no, don't even show me.
Explain a bunch of memes to you.
Don't show me. Yeah. Just next time you see a good meme, call me. Just call me up and tell me about it.
Yeah, I'll call you.
That's so funny because I'm always trying to streamline my game, but yeah, man, I see those cred sticks. Oh boy, I gotta pick them up.
Again, you gotta move the decimal. If it's 136, it's really like 13. And the great equalizer is walk up to any vending machine in the game. That's like 76 credits for a drink.
Yeah,
that tells you right there what 100 or 200 cred stick is really worth your time. It's not really worth your time. I still pick them up though.
Okay, now that we're talking about this, I have a gripe about cred sticks that I always think about when I'm playing the game, and then I'm like, I got to talk about this on the podcast. And then we get together and we forget. I forget. Here we go. Why is it that every other object that I can pick up, have you noticed that Starfield does this thing where your reticule does not have to be exactly on an object. If it's nearby, it will like highlight. It'll have that the call out line or whatever.
Right.
And you can pick up anything that is near your reticule except cred sticks. Your reticule has to be exactly on it. And that is not how other objects are. What are they doing? Why are they driving me crazy like this? I need that to be changed.
Yeah, they're usually in lockers, and there's usually a bunch of crap around it that you have to carefully line up the reticule to be able to pick it up. Again, it is not worth that 0.5 seconds it takes to line up the circle. Because you should just pick up the weapon off the guy you just killed if you have enough. I mean, the nice thing about creds are they don't weigh anything, but still. I mean, what do you sell a rare weapon for? 1,000 credits? Weapon. I don't even know.
I'm around 600. If it's like...
Is it only 600?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, because actually the rarity only affects the price a bit. It's really like how many mods it has on it that drives the cost up. Because I actually...
Really?
Yeah, I'll do this thing.
Did not know that.
Yeah, if I don't want to think too hard about my gameplay, a lot of the times, like what I've been doing with my latest character, is I will go through and clean out my inventory by, I'll sort my weapons by ammo type.
Okay.
And then for each ammo type, I will keep one weapon for every ammo type. I can carry a lot of stuff. Yeah. I will actually just keep whatever the most expensive gun is, because the cost of the gun will take into account, the traits it has, the mods, and the rarity. It takes all that into account. And I find that a lot of times my legendary guns get sold. Most people are not playing that way because you might have a gun that you really like for certain things. This is just when I don't even want to think about stuff. I'm just like, whatever. I'll just keep the most expensive gun. It's like what we talked about last time about letting go, right? I already know I'm not settling down yet. I know I'm going to be going through the Unity again soon, so I'm just not really caring, to really make sure I have the right gun.
It's like wearing green shoulder pads on your Warlock character in World of Warcraft.
I need explanation.
And worrying about trying to get epic gear when you're level 25.
Right.
And the end game is at 60, or it's at 70, or it's at 80.
Yep.
You should not give a flying F about any gear unless there's all sorts of players. There's raiding players or raid parties that raid at low level and they want epic gear. I understand that.
Yeah.
But for the general player, it's like, don't even sweat it. Just get by with what you got until you're kind of in the end game.
Yeah.
That's one philosophy, at least.
Speaking of legendary gear, this is your weekly shout out for the Discord. If you haven't joined, click on the link. Yep. If you're listening to this, just look at the show notes. Click on the link because it's full of amazing, awesome people that are playing Starfield and talking about it. And we got an amazing tip from DJ Seaway. They were talking about loot and legendary items, and there is a guaranteed way of obtaining legendary weapons. So you go to a vendor.
Oh, I did see this. Yes.
Yeah. You go to a vendor like Trade Authority or whatever. Sometimes provisioners on Planet Outposts will have this. Basically, you just go to buy stuff and go to notes, the notes category. I never check this because I'm like, what do they have? Like,
who cares usually? Yeah.
Yeah. So they call it mineral surveys, abandoned shipments, and directions to loot locations. So apparently when you take one of these notes and read it, you buy it, you got to buy it and then read it. It will give you an objective marker to a loot container. And inside will be like a legendary weapon. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is an amazing tip. If you're unlucky with the roll and you're just not finding a weapon that you like, you could just go do this over and over until you find one, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a brilliant tip, and you would get amazing weapons, one that you may love and use for the rest of the game.
If you've just done New Game Plus, or if you've just started a new character, like,
Right.
what a great way.
You need a good weapon.
Yeah, what a great way to just get started.
Absolutely. DJ Seaway.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot going on in that name, so hopefully I said it correctly.
Michael, you know what I could use in my life?
What could you use in your life?
Way more screens.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love me some screens. As a matter of fact, do you like screens? Because if you do...
Yeah, I love screens. Anytime I read some scientific study about how we should have less screens, I say nay to that.
Exactly.
I say more.
So if you want more screens in your life, you can get the computer hab for your ship. And, I mean, it's just pretty stuff to look at. They don't really do anything.
Yep.
But hey, sometimes it's about the role playing, and it looks cool.
Yeah, and so what I like about this is, a lot of people, sometimes I'll see people say, why this hab is supposed to be shipment, and why don't I have more storage? There are ways to put more storage on your ship. The habs are all about the look of your ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about, like, again, bam, role play. That's what we're talking about. It's all about role play. Tar's Endurance on the No Sodium Starfield subreddit, they pointed this out and they took a picture, and I love it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Alien films.
It does.
It reminds me of, like, Star Wars and Aliens, and it's just that very, like, a bunch of screens with data and on it, and I really like it.
It looks like this would be real computer equipment on the International Space Station.
Yeah, all the readings.
Maybe a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
It's modular, so it looks like it would stack into racks. It's just very well designed.
Yeah, it's a cool look. Definitely check it out. I will actually put a link to this in our show notes as well, so check that out. It's just a cool, it's a cool look if you want that for your ship.
Yeah. And if you're into cool looks, you can go look at some cool stuff at a museum, right?
I love the United Colonies Museum, and I was going to say, you know what I love about the United Colonies is how they're not biased at all.
Right.
When you do that mission and you go down into the United Colonies Museum, boy, take Andreja, because her reactions...
She's got some commentary.
Yeah. When you get to the section where they talk about House Varun, she's basically like rolling her eyes at, like, everything that's going on that they're saying about House Varun. And in fact, I think at one point, like halfway through, she's just like, she basically checks out. She's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And I was actually hoping for more commentary, and she was just done. Like, that was it.
Andreja, you worship a snake. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just put this into
Let's be real.
Let's real talk. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm definitely on that side of, like, yeah, House of Varun, not gonna lie, does sound pretty crazy. But that's why I would love some House of Varun DLC and clarify some of that stuff. And they're like, well, it's not a literal snake.
They definitely have an entire section of lore that they could use for that for future DLC. So if they're looking, I mean, there's no shortage of story elements they could use for DLC, but House Varun, I mean, there's some meat there that they could work with.
When you go to the UC Museum, it shows, like, the section of the Freestar Collective, and it has the different armors. So they have, like, the armor of just, the Freestar Collective, like the deputies and whatnot. They have the first outfit as well. And then they have, like, the hoodie look from the disciples. And this is definitely one of those things I wouldn't have noticed the first time playing, but now, they're pointing out, why is this here? It's not a military uniform, it's just a gang.
It's kind of their little backhanded compliment towards the Freestar Collective, basically associating them with a gang. Is it not?
Well, right. Like, I wouldn't even call it a compliment, but it's definitely backhanded. It's like, yeah, that's what's funny too, is, like, the UC does not hold in high regard the Freestar Collective. So yeah, it's very funny that they would be like, let's throw that up there too. like bunch of criminals.
It's a revisionist history.
Yeah. It's so interesting. That's what's interesting about this whole, like, they have these different sides. The UC, like, there's good and bad from the UC, and there's good and bad from the Freestar. Although is there anything really bad about Freestar? I mean, definitely they both committed war crimes, it seems.
I'm not far enough into the story. I just was introduced to Freestar Collective and opted to not like pursue that path yet, just because I had too many other things. I didn't. Sometimes when you diversify your stories too much, you forget what's going on because there's so many hours in between different gameplay sessions. I was like, I'll save this one.
Yeah, I find it mind-blowing when, like, I'll play a lot of a game and then I'll see people talking about an aspect of the story or something that happened or a certain character. And I'm like, who is that? Like, what are they talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, did I see that? And sometimes, yeah, I saw it. It's just I did so much within a short period of time that, like, it's kind of a blur.
Yeah. No, Barrett is actually a major person. You didn't know about this? He's like an actual character in the game.
Barrett?
He's with Constellation. You didn't know about Barrett?
Who is that? Barrett.
Who's Barrett?
No, I don't know. I don't think I've met Barrett yet. Is he, like, is that late game?
Well, you're in for a treat.
Is that a late game character?
It can be for some.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering if it's possible to just come out of the mine, like where you first meet Barrett, like right away, come out of the mine and just run into the wilderness and start the game that way.
You know, it's weird that you brought that up because I saw a story in passing and I don't know the details. Essentially, someone did exactly that and they avoided joining Constellation completely. Oh, it was a YouTube video.
That's funny.
So yeah, I saw a thumbnail for a YouTube video that basically said how to avoid Constellation completely, and it showed Barrett landing in the thumbnail. I didn't watch it, but I'm assuming that you could do exactly that. You could just basically turn tail and run.
That's funny.
You can't kill, the major characters.
Yeah.
I was thinking about going and playing Fallout New Vegas, a game where you can kill everybody, and then implementing a kill everybody gameplay mode where I just literally kill everything I see. And I wanted to see how far I could get and what that game would be like.
Right.
But
yeah,
I think you can avoid, now that you know how to play the game, all you have to do in that scene is, well, you still need to get the Constellation to leave, right? Or could you just go wander and hope a ship lands and then steal that ship?
I'm trying to remember because
Pirate ship, can you steal the pirate ship in that first scene?
Part of me doubts it because I remember that there are quite a few, like, little tutorial moments in that opening.
Yeah.
But that would be amazing if you could. And one of my favorite mods of all time on Skyrim was the alternate start mod, which just lets you start the game as a random, not always random, like you could choose. You could let it be random.
A frost wolf.
Well, yeah.
You start as a frost wolf in Whiterun, and then you get killed by a wanderer.
Right. Yeah, you could say I was left for dead in the woods, or I'm a prisoner, being let out of this prison, or, I'm a farmer, or whatever. You would have tons of choices, and having an alternate start mod for Starfield is something that I am very much looking forward to.
Yeah.
Because it's just a massive universe, so being able to start in wherever would be awesome.
And speaking of mods, as spotted by Reddit user Terabit, the Steam change list for Starfield has been updated with new code base branches. What does that mean? It means that the changes show that a creation kit beta is being prepped for those in Bethesda GameWorks Studios' verified creator program, Michael. Wow, that was a mouthful.
That's a lot. You just said a lot of things, but
it said a lot of things.
This is good. This means that they've got, like, a list of some of their favorite content creators for actual, like, mods and stuff like that. And they're going
Wait a minute. Who's on this list? And how do they know are these people that made mods for Fallout 4 or Fallout 3?
That would be my guess. My guess is that
Skyrim?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but I would guess that it is those people that have made some of the most popular mods, or not just mods, but like mods for Creation Kit. That would be my guess. And so I'm sure that they
Right.
were reached out to, and hey, are you playing Starfield?
Maybe it's the community manager once again, the one that we've never heard from.
Yeah. One of our patrons did mention probably if we reached out to the community manager, maybe we would hear something, or maybe we could even get an interview. That would be cool. So we do want to, kind of build on that going forward, and build on this community and the podcast.
No, it'd be fun. We should definitely get that person in. I'd love to pepper them with some questions about the Creation Kit and whatever else.
Yeah. We talk about mods and stuff. And actually, I want to bring this up because I spoke to one of our Discord members, also a patron. They were saying, hey, look, I'm an Xbox player. I can't put mods on Xbox as of now. I'm only playing vanilla. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we sort of noticed, this person and I, is that sometimes you'll go onto a forum or you'll go on the Discord and you're saying, how do I do this in the game? And you're talking about the game itself, vanilla, no mods. And you'll be saying, how do I do this? I want to do this. And they're like, well, you can get this mod. It makes it easier. You could do this. And it's like, stop. I'm not on PC. And even if you are on PC, some PC players don't want mods. They don't want to break their game every time it gets updated.
Right.
For that person, after talking about it, we were like, okay, we need a section in our Discord for mods. And that way, it's kind of a nice spot. If you're looking for mods, there's the place to talk about it. Here's my point, is that the Creation Kit going into beta soon is so great for people that are on console. Mm-hmm. Because we don't have mods, this will be the start of being able to add little things into Starfield piece by piece.
Right.
And generally, these are things like, we talk about mods can break your game sometimes. Mm-hmm. Generally, if it's in the Creation Club, it's been vetted and tested, and it's generally safe.
Yeah, it's made by a proven developer who has a track record of making mods that work.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest mods for Xbox users, or just anybody playing Starfield, is going to be UI improvements and inventory management.
Yep.
There are some good ones currently out on PC, and apparently that quality of life change is massive.
Yeah, because I generally like to mod stuff up, but a lot of times I don't like stuff that breaks the canon of the game. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times I'm like, I don't need mods. And then when I see those UI improvements, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get that. That's awesome.
Right.
Especially the inventory management. There's definitely a lot of improvements that can be made there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a PSA, I think that when a console user is asking questions about the game, don't be that person that says, just get a PC. Why don't you get a PC? Why do you play on console? Because that's really obnoxious.
It is. And usually they're still in, middle school. It's during school hours. So you got to wait till they, after school hours before you approach them with the PC question.
Oh man,
oh wait, that's not what you meant at all,
that's
was
not
it?
What I
I'm
meant,
so
no.
sorry.
No.
I misread. Okay, I apologize. Go ahead. Keep going.
But yeah, it's number one, PCs are often more expensive, but not only that, a lot of people just want to sit on the couch and relax, and there's so many reasons. Don't assume the reason someone's on console and not on PC, because there's a lot of different reasons to play on console.
Absolutely. Don't console shame. Look, I have a console. I have at least 3 or 4 of them, to be honest, and I do play them. You're right. What's better than kicking back on the couch, just throwing on Grand Theft Auto for a while and kicking back with the controller? Or it's a completely different play style for me. And one is not better than the other. It's just different.
And don't get me wrong, like you and I like to talk about the differences between the two and like the pros and cons of each one. Speaking of that, actually, so you know that I generally play on Xbox.
Right.
But now that the game has been updated with FSR 3.0?
Right.
For PC, not on console. So the console does not get this, and who knows if it ever will, because I don't know if FSR 3 has been, enabled for Xbox or whatever.
Yeah, doesn't the Xbox use the AMD chipset for the graphics processor?
It does.
Use the Radeon.
Yeah.
So the FSR, to put it into layman's terms, is like the, what was it again? It's where they...
So they will
improve the resolution.
Yeah,
is that it?
It basically improves the frame rate by faking the resolution. So basically, instead of like natively 4K, it will sort of like output the game at like 1440 or 10, maybe even 1080, and then it will upscale it to 4K. So it ends up looking
right.
It's way more complicated than what I just described. But what it means is that it makes it look like a higher resolution than it is, but while running the game, like making it easier for your computer to run the game. Xbox, I believe, is up to FSR 2.0.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to get 3.0 or when it will happen or whatever, but my point is, I'm a console player, and hearing about FSR 3 has actually got me wanting to break out my little gaming laptop that I've got.
Right. Yeah, you should try it just to see the difference.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun. I mean, and likewise, I should boot up my 360 and see if I can get Starfield to run on that. Just kidding. I don't have a Series S or a Series X. I do want one, though.
You're going to need FSR 7.0 which does not exist.
To upscale from potato resolution.
It'll upscale from 360p. That's why it's called the Xbox 360, because it'll render at 360p.
No, it's called the 360 because you turn all the way around when. What was it? What was that meme?
Yeah, it's the
2010.
Yeah, it's like the green text from 4chan. It was like why they call it the Xbox 360, because when you see it, you turn 360 degrees and walk away. And then everyone's like, 360 degrees means you would turn around all the way.
That's facing the same direction. Yeah. That's why it's funny. It's doubly funny.
I saw someone took that meme. They had a little animated Michael Jackson where he does his little spin and then he moonwalks away. So he is facing it, and he still walks away. So it works. That's
great. Remember the was it Sega had that Michael Jackson Thriller game? Was it Thriller or what was it called?
Oh my God, was it? Well, I remember they had a Space Channel 5 dancing game, but I don't know if Michael Jackson was.
No. There's a 2D side-scrolling Michael Jackson game where you're like moonwalking and doing dance moves to like take out bad guys.
It was called Moonwalker. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Yeah.
I remember that. Oh, so
we need a 3D
funny
version of that.
Okay. I looked
Your
up.
attack is a moonwalk and like I'm doing the hee thing where I'm grabbing, my belt area.
What's funny is
and pointing.
You brought that up, and I looked up a screenshot of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, and I'm pretty sure that's where, like, the meme animation I was just talking about, I'm pretty sure it came from this game.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Where's our remake of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker?
Mm-hmm. It should be called Annie Is Not Okay, and you like rescue Annie.
It has been long enough.
Well, should we get into some listener feedback?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah, listener feedback was good this week. It's interesting to hear from the people that not only agree with us, but also disagree with us on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always very healthy when we talk about game preservation And, last week I talked about just, letting go of like games that get delisted and that are unavailable.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we come at a subject like that, obviously I'm only going to be thinking about a few different aspects. Somebody had mentioned, okay, let me see if it's here.
I expect exhaustive research and cited works, Michael, whenever you bring up a subject, okay?
Let me tell you, that's just not going to happen. We got a comment from Team November where they said, has the conversation on game preservation finally led us to play the nihilism card as a last resort? And I found that very interesting. They said, thankfully, I've never left my game discs in a hot car or put them against a magnet. Mine stay in a case on a nice little shelf. Sure.
They're nihilists, Donnie.
They're nihilists. By the way, let me just say that Big Lebowski is a movie that I could probably watch once a week for the rest of my life if I were allowed to.
That's your desert island movie?
It is absolutely.
I might be in the same boat. Honestly, it's fantastic. It's got everything. It's got humor. It's got intrigue. Yeah. It's a classic.
There's been so many times where I'm just working on something. Like if I'm working on photos and just editing photos, I'll just put on that movie. Anyway.
Did you ever see Rain Man with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman?
I've seen most of it.
Everything is like, it's about $100. It's about $100. Everything's $100. I think. I haven't seen the movie in like 20 years, but Dustin Hoffman is autistic and he's gifted mathematically.
Yeah.
But like socially can't interact with people. Dustin Hoffman in that movie is always like, it's about $100. How much is a car, Ray? It's about $100. How much is the egg salad sandwich? About $100. It's like you going through your life. You're just, hey man, nice marmot. You're just constantly saying over in your head, like over and over, Big Lebowski lines. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but you're just...
Okay, I see what you're saying.
As you live your life, minute by minute, it's just Big Lebowski lines coming through your head. So...
It does happen. There's a few lines. If somebody starts like talking about legal things, anytime someone starts explaining something too much, like something that they're not quite an expert.
Like I just did?
Yeah. No, but then I always think of the line like, what are you, a park ranger now? Like,
yeah.
Forget about the freaking marmot.
Yeah.
So back to nihilism. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Team November makes this point. They say, I keep my games on the shelf, and if something bad happens to them, I can just go to the local game exchange place and buy another copy for cheap. So I'm not totally disagreeing with that. I am a little bit, because many games that are physical games are very hard to find. Mm-hmm. And if they are hard to find, you can't get another copy for cheap. It's going to be very expensive on eBay.
And those retail stores are going away. We used to have like these little cool game shops that had vintage games and stuff.
Yeah.
I have not seen one of those in a while. Like yeah. I know there was one in my town, and I don't think it's there anymore.
It's sad, because some of my favorite memories were going to, the little game shops and used games and just browsing. I would take home games that I knew nothing about. Just based off of the cover alone.
How many times did that do you wrong, though? That was my method for buying Nintendo games. And in 1987, it was like, wow, that's a really cool cover. 30 minutes later, after I biked home from a 12-mile ride from the mall, and I finally get it in my Nintendo, and I'm like, this is the worst game ever. 3D World Runner?
Oh, man.
Okay, look up 3D World Runner. That was such a buzzkill. And there was a Broderbund game that I got. Man, I got to find the title, but... It looked so cool on the box. It had like this cool guy holding a sword and a castle, and I got it home, and it was like, this game's a disaster.
Yeah, I feel like you could be done wrong really badly on NES games, because there were so many that were total garbage.
Poor quality.
Yeah.
So much for that stamp of approval, liar.
The seal.
The Nintendo seal. That's basically, we'll print money. Here.
It'll run. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it wasn't as bad in like the PlayStation era. So I'm thinking about like when I got out of high school, we would go and get PlayStation games. Occasionally you would get one that wasn't great. I don't remember ever getting a game that was total garbage.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk about a really random, weird game, let's see if you've ever heard of this game. There was a game called Stretch Panic. This was one of those weird games. You just would not see a game like this today. It was, you were this little girl with a scarf that was like a shadow, that was like a claw, and you would run around and you could grab things in the world and stretch them. Like, that was the game. And it was just very bizarre. And you don't see experimental games like that much.
It's like a Bionic Commando clone, but more stylistic.
Yeah.
Because you had this peripheral device to interact with the world with, and you could help solve puzzles, basically, to improve your progression, right?
Yeah, it was like that. And this was when PlayStation was the first console, I think, to have the sticks, the analog sticks. And it was such a big deal because it was like, oh, you have such perfect control over movement.
It's no longer just on and off. You now have a full graph of movement.
It's like not up, down, left, right. But anyway,
ABBA.
This is what we were saying. Even if you leave your game on a shelf, things are deteriorating over time.
That's not even the point in my mind. The point is get over it. Like,
yeah.
Even if you have it on your shelf, look, listen, I collected in television games. It got to a point where I was never going to take them off the shelf, take the cartridge out and insert it into the console and play Snafu or whatever game it was, right?
Yeah.
Because like we said before, I had moved on mentally from 8-bit graphics or, Atari style graphics. I moved on from 16-bit. I moved on from Doom and Unreal and, all these different games. The Dark Knight or Dark Forces, Jedi Knight 2.
Yeah.
All these games that were instrumental in forming who I am as a gamer. That's all water under the bridge. Yeah, I mean, there's a space. Look, right behind me as I'm speaking, I have Mortal Kombat in arcade form. I do like to go back and revisit specific games.
Right.
It's not nihilism. It's just moving forward.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting in the same spot in life.
So I do want to also say, by contrast, because with this comment, I'm sort of just reinforcing my original statements, but I also want to point out that Dayhiker42 in our Discord kind of showed me, a different perspective in that there are certain games, and I think this fits perfectly with what you just said about having Mortal Kombat, on the arcade behind you. Dayhiker42 talked about the game Mech Warrior and how Mech Warrior 2 in 1995, that there just isn't any more games like it. I think it's easy to move on when you have other games that are similar to games in the past. In this regard, I agree with Dayhiker42. It's like sometimes you just keep going back to an old game. I know that, like, I've got games on my iPhone. Instead of getting a new game, I would rather play this game from 10 years ago again. There's certain games that are just so much fun.
Flappy Bird.
Yeah, Flappy Bird. For me lately, it's been XCOM again. So like XCOM is a great game that you can play just about anywhere.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was on mobile.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a little clunky to use, but it's like the perfect game for like when I have just a little bit of free time in between stuff.
We had a comment from Willia451 on our YouTube channel. It says, not worried about losing the stuff if I NG+. Your level, skills, and research that follows you are more important anyways. But I do worry about losing Andresia when I leap into a new universe. What if she's not there or radically different? She's the reason I play Starfield. The one time I've NG+, the first thing I did was take the shortest path available to get back to her. And thankfully, she was there and the same person as before. Otherwise, I wouldn't have most likely just uninstalled and stopped. Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting statement, though, because in Baldur's Gate 3, for example, the animations and story make you feel more attached to the characters. I think this comment So this comment stands in contrast to that because this player is willing to, or is worried about, they're not worried about their ships, their credits, or anything like that. They're worried about the story and the character because the game has done a good job of making them feel for their character. And I think you and I have talked about it, like me with Sarah as my main companion.
Yeah.
You had Sarah as a companion early on as well. And the game does a good job of, at least for me, making you care about that character.
Further reinforces our point that they have made characters in this game that people really, really care about. It's actually really fascinating. And it's one of those things where, my God, if we were ever able to get these voice actors, any one of them, onto our podcast to interview them, I would absolutely, I would have to be like, okay, I don't want to make this weird or awkward, but I do want to ask, how do you feel about the fact that you play a character that, some players are falling in love with that character? We are connecting with video game characters now, more than ever. And it's really fascinating. I think it's just such an interesting thing. And I don't think there's any shame in it. You know, we read books and watch movies and fall in love with those characters, but video games make it so much more, it's so direct.
And you're spending 2 hours or less in a feature film, and you can fall in love with a character in a feature film.
Yeah.
A book is a little bit longer. You might spend, depending on how fast you read it, a week or longer living with that character. A video game, I mean, you could spend years and hundreds, if not thousands of hours with that same character. So it's kind of on a different level. And this is beginning to sound very stalker-ish. The reality is, with that much time invested in a character, it's inevitable that you're going to have feelings for.
Yeah, in a weird way.
In a weird way, yeah.
In my experience, there's a graph. It starts to go
This
up.
is a photograph. Sorry.
Look at this graph.
Graph. Look at this giraffe.
Look at this giraffe. For me, it's this bell curve of the first time I played, getting to know the characters, getting to know them, and then being like, whoa, I really care about these characters. And to the point where I cannot do New Game Plus. I cannot abandon these people. And then the more I play, the bell curve starts to go down again, where I'm just like, okay, it's a game. But there definitely, it was that first month of playing the game, it was like, whoa, these are my friends.
Yeah, and it's the major storyline in the game.
Yep.
Compels you to either do ENG Plus or don't do it.
Yep.
Me personally, I now have an additional reason to go ahead and go through and do that. For Willia 451, man. I get it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Skyrim had some great characters, but it was really funny how they did marriage. You put on this necklace and
marriage.
You can get married to one of many, many people. It was such a non-thing. In this, they make it a huge thing. I think the first time that Bethesda really started making characters that I loved was Fallout 4, honestly. I think Nick Valentine.
Preston. I mean, who doesn't love Preston?
You know what's... Okay, but here's what's funny. So my favorite characters, obviously, are Nick Valentine and Piper. Those two characters are awesome. Mm-hmm. See, you said Preston, and I was thinking someone else, but now I know who you're talking about. Yeah, another settlement.
Oh, are you talking about...
Danson. Danson?
Who's Danson?
Who's the Brotherhood of Steel guy?
Oh.
I think it's Dance.
Something like that.
Paladin Dance. So I was thinking of Paladin Dance, and he's such a, military guy. Mm-hmm. Even though to me he's a little derpy, sort of military guy, but he's still a great character because he seems so rigid and boring at first. But if you get to know him, there is this kind of multi-layered character to him.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never gotten to know him beyond the missions, a small amount. Yeah. That makes sense, though.
Bethesda really started to make great characters, I think, with Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. And they just really, really upped their game with Starfield. And you can see it in these comments. This character is important to me.
Right.
To the point where if I can't find her, I don't want to play.
I can't go on in life.
To me, that it's, yeah.
I can't live.
I'm like, well, I can still.
If living is without you.
It's I can still play the game. I mean.
Right. You can separate reality from fiction, huh?
I try my best.
I try.
I mean, we'll talk about it someday. I really want to have an episode. Once you've finished the game, I want to have an episode where we just really dive into it. You just talked about like separating reality and fiction. The day after I beat the game, not that I can't separate it, but for a whole day or two, I could not stop thinking about the game. It was hard for me to go to work and just concentrate. I just had so much to think about.
Yeah. That's every day for me because I just hate my work. So it's, no, not really. I kid. I'm thinking about Starfield. I had to call in sick.
Well, there's one more comment that I wanted to address, and I had no idea this one was also from Team November until now. So congrats, Team November. You're getting featured a lot. You do make some interesting points.
It's more like Team April. Wait, what month are we in?
February.
Team February.
Team February.
Yeah.
They talk about Bethesda having a pattern of disenfranchised fans just over time. I think I know what they're saying. I'm not really going to address that, but later in the comment, they say that it's counterintuitive, but I think Starfield could have resonated with more players if it had leaned into some of the more hardcore or simulator elements at its core instead of trying to water things down so much for mass appeal. I really like this comment because
I do too.
Even though like I love Starfield, there's so many things that in development they were worried. They were like, oh, people are not going to like it if you have to take time to travel to a place the first time, or like they did so much for convenience that I think it hurt the game.
See, I thought you were going to go to a different route. I thought you were going to say the game felt watered down in terms of like it doesn't have an edge.
Oh yeah,
which we've talked about before. Like there's not a violent edge. There's not a sex edge. You know.
Yeah.
There's not really a sharp edge to the game in terms of it's a mature game, but it's not like the stuff you can do in Grand Theft Auto or some of these other M titles. This game feels like a PG,
right,
you know, or a kid's game comparatively speaking.
I agree.
I thought you were going to go there, but you're saying it's game elements.
Team November here is talking about like simulator elements in the gameplay and having just a little bit more of a hardcore edge to the gameplay itself. I think some things were done for convenience. They should have done where the first time you go to a new system, it should just make you do all the, throwing the switch, sitting down in the pilot seat, throwing all the switches, going into hyperdrive. You should have to do all that stuff the first time you go to a system, and then, like, only once you've discovered a place, let you fast travel to it.
I 100% agree with you. We did a video on a game called Sub-Rove, R-O-V.
Right.
And this is a authentic deep sea simulator kind of thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
In that game, in order to do anything, you had to press the buttons in the right order.
Oh, yeah.
But somehow that made it super rewarding to finally accomplish those tasks. And then the next time you did it, you kind of, you get a little better at remembering the sequence and the things you had to do in order to deep dive in this
right
ROV or whatever it was. So I think you're right. I think if they did that in Starfield, take the time in the first 5 hours of the game to make you go step by step and then give you that option moving forward to always do it or to never do it again if you hate it. But it would make it feel less like you're getting out of an elevator and you're experiencing a new box, and then you're leaving that box going into the next room, which is another box, New Atlantis.
Yeah.
And then you're exiting that box and you're going to a planet. Everything just kind of felt a little, I guess, disconnected or not connected in a way that doing those mundane things would have really helped.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also, to get back to my other point, I think they should have made it edgier, and they still can. I think it got a little too caught up in what some of these large corporations are dealing with right now, which is very, trying to appease everybody.
Yeah.
If you try to please everybody, you don't please anybody.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
You might as well do what Baldur's Gate did and, just go hardcore and, hope that it resonates.
You know, we're on record as being more inclusive, and that's not what we're talking about.
No, not at all.
But yeah, like what we're talking about is like gameplay wise, yeah, just trying to like make it fit for everyone. And it's just like, don't do that. It's a space exploration game. Just make it full space exploration. The people that want that are going to be playing the game.
If it's M, make it full M.
Yeah.
That's my beef.
I do want to jump on a couple comments that are directly on our Patreon page for the last episode.
Yeah.
First off, Illness really appreciated, Duane, that you made a "Say It Ain't So" reference. He caught your Weezer "Say It Ain't So" reference.
Nice. I'm glad at least one person caught that.
Yeah. You and I, when we're recording, sometimes I'm completing a thought, you're saying something, and you'll drop these little references, and sometimes I won't catch them until the edit, which is really funny. Like I'll be in the edit and I'll go, "Oh, wow, that's funny."
That's been my whole problem in life is that no one knows I'm funny until like a day later, and it's too late by then. So late. I never got the date with the girl because she's like, she'll wake up at 4 a.m. and be like, "Oh my God, that was totally funny."
Oh, now I get it.
In my dreams, it actually, in reality,
it just never happened.
Wasn't funny at the time, and it wasn't funny later. It worked on one girl, okay, for the record.
For the record. Let the record show. In talking about some of the things that have been implemented in this game, Space Cadet on our Patreon page said that the addition of the photo mode, implementing it into loading screens and just all of that is one of the best upgrades that Starfield has brought to Bethesda games. I agree.
We take it for granted, but it's an amazing tool.
Okay, look, I'm not expecting this, so I don't want anyone to get too excited. But oh my God, if they bring photo mode to the update of Fallout 4 that's coming this year, again, I'm not expecting it, but if they do, I will waste so much time taking pictures in Fallout.
There's a lot of photo moments in that game. Yeah.
But yeah, it does make me excited for the next Elder Scrolls game because I can guarantee they're going to implement photo mode there as well. So that'll be nice. I agree, Space Cadet. And then finally, one more comment we've got from Cherry Bomb RN. She says that she usually has a problem of letting go of game progress, but with Starfield, it hasn't been difficult for her. So she's still continuing in her gameplay. She's keeping her skills. And she says that that's what's important to her. And then she actually enjoys seeking out the items that she's had in previous games that she loves. So it's like she calls it a scavenger hunt. So she's talking about the Ecliptic Claymore 3 or like funny coffee mugs.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that she has turned the search of those items each time she does New Game Plus. She's turned that into sort of a meta game. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I could see that.
Really appreciate those comments from the patrons. Keep them coming.
Yeah, and if you want to join our Patreon, see the link in our description. And for as low as $1 a month, you can get ad-free podcasts from us.
Yep, and you get it early too.
Yeah,
you'll get it early before everyone else.
If you want to become a companion, you can get a T-shirt, right?
Yeah, there's a T-shirt coming.
You also get a super secret episode from Michael and Duane.
Yeah, honestly, for $5 a month, which is getting you 4 episodes, that's 4 episodes every month, you're also getting the bonus episode. And we've got a bonus episode coming up real soon, and we had one in January, and we actually have your questions being asked on our Patreon page, and then we're going to answer your questions. In fact, some of the questions are so good that have been posted already.
Oh, tease one right now.
Okay, all right.
Because I do not have access to the account.
Yeah, here's a great question that was posted on our Patreon for the upcoming bonus episode. Illness asked, so what if we get an update where we can rebuild Vasco, basically?
Ooh.
This reminds me of the robot building that you can do in the Fallout DLC. Let's say you can choose a skill tree and Vasco's basic usefulness, whether it's bullet absorbing tank, sniper, medic, hauler, heavy gunner, well-rounded. And the best part is you can control how his parts look and his colors.
That would be dope.
What type of robot would you build? First off, this is an amazing idea. I would love this DLC so much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we can't talk about it because this is for the bonus episode. Got to just tease it out.
Yep. Oh, I got a lot to say about this. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do too. And we are going to be covering this very soon before the end of the month. Yeah, for $5 a month, you can be a booster on our Patreon and get access to this upcoming episode and the every single bonus episode that we've done so far and that we're going to do.
True. But hey, if you want to be really cool, then you can be a companion.
Yeah.
Such as Space Cadet, Rampage American X, Cherry Bomb, Griffin, Ben Price, and Zigrarox. They're the companions. So
they are amazing. Mm-hmm. I also want to give a big shout out to one of our brand new members of the Patreon, Lycos. So Lycos, thank you so much for joining. Welcome.
Yeah. Hey, it wasn't there a search engine called Lycos? That's taking me back. That's kind of scratching a little brain thing in my head.
Yep, nope, you got it. Look. Yep, I looked it up. Lycos is a web search engine established in 1994.
I knew it. Yeah, that was back in the Netscape days, baby.
Oh, I remember this.
Oh, here's a throwback. GeoCities.
Oh, I remember GeoCities.
Oh, you do? Did you have a GeoCities? We got to bring back GeoCities.
I wasn't old enough to have my own GeoCities page, but I sure remember that.
Nice. Thanks to everyone that listens on Spotify, Apple, and thank you to those watching on YouTube. All links are provided in the show notes below.
And an extra special thanks for all the comments and feedback. If you've got a comment, suggestion, or an in-game story to share, you can leave a comment on our YouTube page. You can go to our Discord, wherever you can find us.
If you like the show and if you like the Lycos search engine, consider dropping a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. That would really help us out.
Also, you can feature us on your GeoCities page.
Will you be my neighbor in GeoCities?
Oh, okay. See, I don't even... Can you be neighbors? Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was kind of the whole thing is like, and if you didn't visit the page, your driveway would turn to like overgrown. First it was like paved and then it would turn to like a dirt road and then it would get like weeds on it. And your house would look all dilapidated if you didn't like log in.
That's funny. This is already so much better than the metaverse.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Well, thanks for traveling the Starfield with us. Make sure you subscribe because we will be back for more next week.
See ya.